Hey, good people. It is KaCey here, co founder and executive director of Helping Empower Youth. And it has been a little bit since um, we've done one of these lives. And I'm trying to get Coach Boyd on as well. And so he may jump in. We'll see how that goes. But I wanted to have a very um, candid conversation with us about a lot of things happening and going on. Um, and so I just thought it would be. We've done one of these. Oh, there we go. Just making sure it is working. Okay, so here we go. So again, if folks jump on, great. If not, you can catch the replay. We know how that goes, right? So, y'all know this is around the time of the year that I say all the time that summer is coming, right? And what does that mean? That means that there's going to be an influx of young people looking for activities to be involved in, things to do, places to go, money to make. And for those of you who are not familiar with the work of helping empower youth, we have been around really since 2009, right? We're not brand new in this work. Sorry about that. We're not brand new in this work, and it is important for us to say that because a lot of times people associate a lot of what we do with what happened the summer of 2020. Um, what happened during the summer of 2020 and our response to it really as we helped to bring attention to what was happening all across the city, right? And so it's important uh, uh, sorry, Coach Boy sending me messages. um he's been out in the garden working, but so it's important to note that our work did not start in 2020, right? Did not start in the work that we were doing with the Atlanta Water Boys and really all that was happening that summer when we had about 600 young Black men primarily on corners all across the city. As a result of that, our work has scaled. It is, sorry. The work has scaled. It has been upgraded and changed and challenged in so many different ways as well, because what it allows for us to do is really meet the needs of young people as it happens. And so there's Coach Boyd as they're happening. And so just full transparency, what's the mic check? Can we hear you, Coach Boyd?
You can see me?
I can see you, yes.
Oh shit.
And you live. Why are you cursing?
Like, oh, okay. I guess you can hear me too then, huh?
Yes.
Back here, the signal is so bad. That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
I'm unsure if it was going to be coming in and out and everything, you know.
okay.
I'm here.
Yeah, you kind of scattered a little
What's
bit.
going on?
You kind of in and out.
Am I? Yeah.
Yeah.
How do
Can you move to the front porch?
I watch you?
No, I can't catch you. Ki- Okay, he might try to come back. But really, I wanted to have just a very real conversation. So, Coach Boyd and I have been texting back and forth just today. And again, I started this off with, the summer is coming and we know what happens in the summer. And so he was telling me about a group of young men that he encountered walking past the Hay House, which is what happens a lot, right? It has been that way really since the summer of 2020. They just walk past the house, right? Whether it's the Hay House or the house, we lived in before on Joseph E. Lowry. It was like literally as you just walk past, young people would see us, know who we are because of word of mouth. And so that has been really the thing that has set us apart. Um, that has really set us apart because we really are embedded in the community, right? We're fully embedded in what it is that we do. Like we live in the community that we serve. And so, with that being said, I have been quietly sending communication out to past funders, current funders, future funders, people who have been supportive of us because we have hit a hiccup, right? And I will be the first to say, a little bit of pride, kind of got in the way of not doing this earlier. But one of the best ways I know how to describe this for you all is that, we have not been paid in like over 5 months. And I came off of salary first in an effort to keep some of our other staff and, not wanting to lay people off in this economy. I will tell you this. A lot of our funding dried up after January 20th, and you can connect the dots there for yourself, right? This is not necessarily about partisanship, right? We're a 501c3. I could care less about that. But what has happened is that there have been federal executive orders that have been passed. Well, when I say passed, meaning federal executive orders written and signed, right? Because executive orders still don't mean anything until it goes to the proper chain of command through Congress, right? But we do know that executive orders hold power and influence in the sense that it allows for people to then make decisions based on what they believe the federal government is shifting their priorities to. As a result of that, and we have seen it in other areas, right? We have seen it in areas of corporate boycotts because certain companies have rolled back their DEI practices because of the threats of what could come to them or the consequences they feel as though that they would face if they were to stand 10 toes down, right? In diversity, equity, and inclusion by name. We have seen this in the funding community too. There are some collectives and some collaborations that I am a part of that I don't want to speak too cavalierly about, so I won't name them. But just know that we're watching very closely, and we're also putting a demand right on the funding community here in Atlanta, in particular, to do the right thing. Now, all of this is a process, right? We have reached out to, again, folks who are very close to us in terms of how they've supported our work currently and in the past, and doing everything that they can to be able to help support us in the best way that they can. But again, everything is a process. And what I mean by that is that the folks that we are most connected to are usually not the ones who are the final decision makers in terms of when the check gets cut, when it gets sent, how is it then allocated, right, to organizations like ours. So while we're doing that, it is putting a very, very critical strain on even some of the day-to-day operations of organizations like ours. We are tiny, right? We do big work. I believe we've made a huge impact in this city. And also, y'all, if you're watching, I invite you to share this live. I don't say that often, but this is one of those moments where I think it's important for us to really hear what is happening and what is going on. So if you could share it, that would be greatly appreciated. I know folks are probably, headed home and getting off work and that kind of thing. But we want to get this information out to as many people as possible. So it's starting to place a strain on organizations like ours that are tiny, right? And when I say tiny, we are very, very small. And everything that happens impacts us. We are not a multi-million dollar operating budget type organization. We have a lot of folks who have big hearts that are connected to our work and not necessarily people with deep and big pockets. And so, even though we have folks who find ways to support us the best that they know how, it doesn't, one person doing that does not make the same kind of ripple effect as it would if we were in a position to have philanthropists or, deep pocket donors stroke a check to be able to get us out of the financial conundrum that we are in as an organization today. Why am I willing to kind of just put it all out on the line today? Well, like I said before, when we first started talking, Coach Boyd was texting me about young people who he has encountered who want to be a part of the work that we do. And that is why we're there. Again, that is why we're at the Mother Catherine Hay House, right? That is why we are still very nestled in the Westside, right? Right there on the line between the Bluff and Bankhead Heights, right? Vine City is right on the other side, Washington Park. We don't get no more Westside than what it is that we're doing. And I cannot, I will not, I refuse to tell these young people, we cannot help you, we cannot serve you, we cannot engage you, we cannot give you a safe space to be simply because other folks have chosen to bend and lean into fear that is not real, right? And decide that they want to shift funding priorities. And it again impacts organizations like ours. Shifting funding priorities is not going to rock organizations that have a 100-year history. It's not going to rock organizations that have a franchise model or an affiliate model where they have 100 centers open. There's always pockets of money to reallocate, to realign when you are that big, when you are operating at that scale and that size. Organizations like ours get hit hard when we are completely dependent, right, upon the generosity of other people. That includes grants. There are so many grants that we were eligible for before that we're no longer eligible for because, again, shifting of priorities and funding focus and interest and the like have now looked different because folks are also trying to get and keep their 501c3 status. For as much as I am okay calling names, there are some names I'm not going to call because I want to be protective of them as well. But I do sit in rooms where there are people who represent very large funding communities in the city who have literally and legitimately said, we want to do more, but we cannot jeopardize our 501c3 status either. So if the funding community that sits as intermediaries to do pass-through grants, to make other grant funding RFPs and proposals available, are saying we can't do that because you serve a particular demographic. We can't do that because you won't change your external language to be more inclusive, right? Which is so weird, right? Coach Boyd is so right. I gotta give him credit where credit is due. He was like, you get on these things, you get on a tangent. And I'm about to get on one. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? That's what the I stands for. Yet nobody seems to have called out the fact that folks are mad because they felt like they weren't included. Like, I'm really trying to figure out, how is the word inclusion a bad word when you really feel like you were excluded, and so now you're trying to put things in place to be included? Like, this is where it starts to get real confusing for me. And then I realize that this is not about good common sense or fiscal, right, responsibility. This really is about, oh, I feel left out. Yet you have access to the whole world, but I feel left out. So I'm going to make life hard for you, and then I'm going to force you to include me. But I don't want to use the word inclusion. I'm gonna get off my tangent right there because, you know, we'll talk about mark this live. Why? Because I gave you some credit. So anyway, the reality of it is that people are really out here making decisions that are impacting um, the lives of folks who do not have the ability to make those same decisions for themselves, right? So we are really on here asking for your support. One of the things that has always been what makes the work we do so special is that we have always had a tremendous amount of individual donors and supporters to our work. Those are the individual donors and supporters that carried us through 2020. It really is. Like, when we didn't know how we were going to feed these kids, when we didn't know how we were going to buy their inventory as we were building trust with them, when we didn't know how we were going to gas up vehicles to make runs, even at 2 o'clock in the morning, or whatever it was we needed to do, people were making sizable individual donations to our work. And that's really where we need to return to. And I say that because as we think about even this new group, and I just love how everything works, because we have a group that is graduating and transitioning to like this other part of the work that we do, because they don't ever really leave us, right? They graduate from high school and they still call us, right? They still show up, they still need us to support them. And so they never go anywhere, but they transition to another part or another phase of the work that we do. And just like clockwork, right? As even culturally, as we think about it, I remember hearing elders talk about, when someone in the family passes on, is making room for someone else, for a new baby to be born. And it's similar to what we do here at Hey. Every time we have a group that graduates, there's yet another group that comes in, that we start the process all over again. Y'all, we are really in a position, right, in this moment where we may have to tell those young people we can't do that. And that breaks my heart, that it will even be a conversation that we have to consider, because funders who have hundreds of millions of dollars in their coffers are afraid to stand up for what is right because of a perceived threat, right? From somebody's written, expressed preference, is all an executive order is. And I say that because it really is impacting the work that we do. Um, I can't tell you how many people will say to me, I really wish I could just solve this for you right now. And for some of them, I'm like, you can, right? But I do know that there's a process for everybody and every entity. And I will never ask someone to put their sustainability in jeopardy for what we're doing. Um, but we have to rethink this philanthropic model, particularly as it relates to some of these larger foundations, both family and private and corporate. It is always the organizations that make the quickest impact that are the quickest to be impacted, right? And I know exactly what I said. So we are so close on the ground. We don't have a lot of bureaucracy and red tape that we have to go through. We don't have a national office that we have to wait for them to pass down a strategic plan and organizational values and goals to align, right? We have a great board, but we don't have 30 people that have to come to an agreement about what we're going to do next. We don't have those same types of limitations, which means we're able to meet the needs that young people express to us faster. And so, because we're able to make a quicker impact, it means that we're usually smaller and tinier than some of the larger organizations, which means any type of funding modification then impacts us the quickest, right? And that is where we are. That is literally what we're experiencing. Do you know how many people have literally fussed me out and cussed me out when I tell them I have not received a paycheck in 5 months? When I say I have not received a paycheck in 5 months, I mean I have not received a paycheck in 5 months. And so when I talk about living off of grace and mercy, I mean that, right? And that is not, I'm not saying that for somebody to pat me on the back. I'm not saying that to be a martyr of any sort. I'm saying that we are so committed to this work that I personally, and I will speak for Coach Board in this moment, that both of us feel so personally called to this work that walking away from it is not an option. Even if it means I have to make modifications in my personal life, right, in order for the doors at the Hay House to stay open. The Hay House closing is not an option. Telling 7 new young people who want to become a part of this ecosystem and this family that we've created, we can't do that because we don't have any money. That is not an option. It's not. And again, folks don't know how to help and support if they don't know what's going on. And so even today, again, Coach Boyd and I was texting, and I basically said, let's just do what we did before. Well, what was that? Lay it all out. Put it all out on the table, right? Let folks know what's happening. Those who've been following us for a very long time know that I would go live every single day that we were on those corners. When they're at the house, in the living room, in the garage, in the backyard, right? On corners, in front of the Gold Dome, and wherever we were going live and we were showing y'all in real time what was happening. And when we needed to feed these children, y'all was sending in the donations. No questions asked. From $5 to $500. There was not a day that went by that a need for the organization and ultimately for these young people were not met. And I know that economically we're all feeling the pinch, whether we are financially secure or not. We're all feeling the pinch economically with the cost of everything going up, right? And so it's always a very precarious situation to ask people to do more when they are trying to figure out how to just do the bare minimum in their lives right now. But I don't want to make the assumption that somebody does not have the ability to do it. And I also don't want to take away the power of many. And so it is something that is tested and proven over and over again. When a lot of us come together and give a little, it makes a big, big difference. And so would it be awesome for one person to say, here's $100,000? Yeah. But I tell y'all all the time, because it's true, how much more of an impact would it make for us to go to these young people and say, 100 people loved you so much they gave $100. 1,000 people loved you so much that they gave you $10. The idea that more people would be willing to support than just the one is what makes this work, because we can then tell them they have a whole community behind them that want to see them win. I'm not looking for pity for not being able to collect a paycheck. I am not looking for folks to feel bad. I'm not looking for you to reprimand me, right? I'm fully aware of the whole you gotta put your mask on first before you can serve others. But here's the thing, sometimes we put our mask on and then we forget to help others. And that's a large part of why our communities are in the state that they're in now. There's a large part of the reason why so many young people are still impacted by the effects of poverty, because we do put our mask on and then we forget to go and share the oxygen with somebody else. And so I say that while I've had to make some tremendous changes in my own life and increase my own faith to make sure that I get by day after day, shutting the doors at Hay will never, will never, and I know they say never, will never close. Will there be some modifications or changes? Yes, that's inevitable. That's in the life cycle of every organization. But the idea of shutting the doors and there not being a safe space for these young people to be in, that's not going to happen. And I say that because I, over the last couple of months, have encountered a lot of, I don't even know the word I want to share. An example that I'll give is that I had somebody reach out to me because they were in a meeting with someone else. And this is why you gotta be careful what you say and who you're talking about. Because someone in that meeting said, well, I don't know why y'all keep bringing up her name. Right? I don't know why y'all keep talking about her. And I'm like, I don't even know that person. Like, well, clearly I've done something. You know me, I don't know you, right? Clearly we've made a mark. You are familiar with the work that we do, and I don't know you, right? And so again, not saying that to be braggadocious, but the point is that we do good work. We absolutely do good work. And that is going to translate into other places. And the reason people keep talking about me is because I'm willing to do what I'm doing right now, which is staying 10 toes down for these young men, staying flat footed, understanding that everybody's not going to agree with what we do, how we do it, who we serve, why we serve them. Like, I still get funders who say to me, I really want to help you, but you can't guarantee me that your boys won't see the inside of Rice Street. You right. I got 3 of them there now. I never professed that we had the magic potion to save every last one of them. But I can guarantee you the work that we've done has kept 20 of them out of there. And so if you want to find excuses to not support us, I'd rather you just say no, thank you. Right? Than to drag in the experiences of our young people simply because that is not what aligns with you. So, again, I say a lot of this because I want you all to know where we are in this place of Hay. I want you to be fully aware that if we call on you, it's because we need you. I want you to be fully aware that we are doing everything that we know to do to ensure that the doors stay open. Um, we have to we have to ensure that we are available for our young people and that we are available for the most vulnerable and we're available for the ones that are sometimes the most challenging to serve. So I really do ask you that if you have the ability to support in any capacity, in any way, if you have the ability to talk us up to other people, to other organizations, philanthropists, the like, we encourage it. We invite you to do so. We ask you to do so. It is imperative in this moment that we really make this something that we can all rally around, something that we can all get to be a part of, to tell the story of what can be when we all come together. And so I, again, am just in a position where I really want for us to be able to meet the needs of our young people this summer. But we need your help to do that. We need your help to be able to bring in this new cohort and this new cadre, right, of young people who want to be impacted in the best ways possible through the work of Hey. So that is it. Again, if you come across this, please share it with someone that you think would get something from it. And can't wait to tell you how we become victorious in this part of the journey.